Hello, my name's Paul Ireland, and this is going to be a run through of a game that is now classed as a vintage game because it's actually 20 years old. It was in 1998 that I first started developing this game, which is a 3D Asteroids type game called Close Approach. And it's now 2018, and I thought to mark the 20-year anniversary, I'll do a video run through of the demo of the game. Mainly because as it's a vintage game, it's very difficult to get it working on any PC now because we were using technologies like Direct3D RM, which is a Microsoft technology. Then Microsoft decided to ditch that, and after about 2005, it just became very difficult. If you had Windows 7 or anything up from Windows 7, the game failed to run on it properly. So I don't feel too bad about that because if you looked at a lot of the graphics driver manufacturers at the time, ATI, Nvidia, you go to their website now and you'll see that half of their cards don't work on the later versions of Windows either. And we're talking about £200 or £300 video cards. So I don't feel too bad that the game stopped working after a few years, but it did have a good run. I mean, from 1998, that was when version 1 came out. Version 2 came out around 2002, 2003. I'm going to demo the 2003 version, which was version 2.03, and I'm demoing it on a Windows XP box. And just to give you an idea what this box is, it's definitely Windows XP Service Pack 3. It's a Dell Optiplex, 2 gig of RAM, Pentium dual core. The display is an ATI Radeon, one of those cards. I mean, it's been such a long time, I forget what all the numbers mean on all the cards now. But yeah, it's got direct 3D acceleration. And the actual game itself, I mean, this was developed 1998, and at that time we're talking about dial-up internet connectivity. So I try to keep the game as small as possible, almost down. I think I did get it down to the size of a floppy disk. So in its setup state, you could fit it on a floppy disk, and obviously it didn't take too long to download at that time. The files, once they were installed, you've got the executable, and you've got a DLL and a resource file that stores all the graphics and stuff. The game was developed in VB5 and later on VB6, and it used Direct3D. At the time, Direct3D wasn't available for VB, so I had to write a C intermediary DLL to actually get access to it. So the VB is actually calling the C DLL, which is then calling Direct3D and the like. Okay, so I'll get into the game anyway. I'll talk about some other things, some other possibly boring stuff later on at the end of this video. So at the moment, I'll just get into the game. We're running on a 1280 by 1024 display, but I'm recording it in full HD. So I'm upscaling it for recording it for YouTube purposes. Right, let's start the game. Okay, so when we go in, the idea behind the game, it's set in the solar system, and you've got your ship, which I'm currently viewing from, and you also got 2 drone ships, and obviously you want to be sending the drones in first to do things to minimise risk for yourself, and that gives you the idea of a 3-life game scenario. Looking around, there's the sun. At the moment we're somewhere outside Jupiter, and this is set in the future, and let's see, control that drone there, and there's a drone. I can move it forward and stuff, move it back, Obviously it's a lot better if you use the view from the drone. So now there's my view there, and we're talking about a future where we're got these saucer-shaped spacecraft. I chose saucer shape because it meant I didn't have to do any fancy graphics for rockets at the back of the spaceship. And what we're talking about then was that I wanted to keep the graphics fairly light so it could work on as many PCs as possible. This actually works on PCs that don't have 3D cards as well. And the premise behind this game is that there are religious extremists and they're diverting asteroids into the path of the Earth because they want doomsday. And so that red saucer there is one of the enemy ships that's trying to protect that asteroid. The asteroid itself is contained within a containment field. Those two spacecraft, top and bottom, are generating that containment field, and you can only fire your weapons when you're inside the containment field. So somehow the containment field gives you the energy to fire your weapons. So you have to go inside the containment field, which is containing the asteroid, and so you're putting yourself at risk, but also that's the only way you can fire your weapons. Now, because there's saucer-shaped spacecraft, you can go forward, you can go back, you can do side thrust, right thrust. I think there's a top and bottom thrust as well, which I don't use. What I found, and also the mouse, you can use the mouse to control the orientation. I found that it was a lot easier using the mouse and a right mouse button for the go forward, middle mouse button to go back, and left mouse button to fire, but also doing that in a combination of the left and right thrusters, which is the Q and W. So it meant for you could be doing things like going around and going forward and stuff, but also making it difficult for enemies to shoot you as well. So I'll go back again outside the containment field. This is the view from the other ship, so you can see my ship there now, and I'll use the drone to take out that enemy ship, hopefully. And it's left to power up if that asteroid doesn't get it. And that's a rapid fire power up, so I'll get that. We've used some subtle lighting effects within the game as well. They do come out on some graphics cards. So if I go down a bit, no, I want to get out of the way. You see that there's a blue tinge to that asteroid when you go. So that's kind of like the light coming from the containment field itself. I'll move back a bit, just go into the containment field, and then I'll take a shot. Fairly stationary at the moment, just taking some pot shots. These are not immediate laser fires or anything like that, so there's an object that's going forward, so if that's moving, you almost have to fire ahead of it to get it sometimes. Okay, so we've got one asteroid left now. So, yeah, and take that out. Level 2 and some of the other levels further on, you've got timed levels, so this is where the asteroid is closely approaching the Earth, and you've only got a certain amount of time to sort it out. Okay, we've got another enemy ship there, so I'll take that out first. I'll take it out with my probe that's got the rapid fire. Now I don't want to pick up that power up because I've already got that power up on that probe, so I'll use that probe to pick that one up, which is useful in further levels. So you've got two probes with rapid fire now. Come out of that, and yeah, hopefully from view from 3 you can see that the Earth is approaching, so you haven't got that much time, so I'll go in and take this out. For demonstration purposes, I'll collide into an asteroid, if I can catch it. That gives you an idea what the graphics look like when the spaceship is. So I better take it out with this one. Just in time. And in the demo mode, it just gave you those 2 levels, and it gave you here's what you could get if you bought the real version. So it gives you an idea that further levels on, the containment field gets bigger, there's more asteroids, and obviously more enemy ships as well, and there's some other surprises as well. And really, at this stage, on the demo over stage, you can move your ships around, but you can't do anything else. You can't move forward, you can't fire or anything. So you can still have a good nose at what's going on. That's about it. Okay, I'll come out of the game. It goes into the about screen as you come out, just to let's make that maximum. So it gives you some screenshots of what's ahead. Let's see. Yeah, that green power up, I think that was a shield power up. Back to the start page. Some of these other pages are, let's see, mission. It gives you a brief background to the game, history, science, the science behind the sources, talking about asteroid threats, system requirements, options. This is quite interesting. It's showing that we're running this in full screen mode, 1280 by 1024. At the time, I think the biggest screen resolution that was supported was 1600 by 1200, which was a fairly big monitor size at that time. There wasn't a 1920 by 1080 option at that time. You can also run the game in a window if you wanted to. 3D drivers, obviously that's the hardware accelerated one is if you've got the 3D card. There was an MMX one which gave you a slight advantage, but if you didn't have a 3D card, you could actually run this in, I think this was the fastest one, RGB emulation. So see what that looks like. So this is if you didn't have a 3D card. So even then it was fairly playable. That seems to run better on other setups. Oh, no, ramp emulation. Yeah, ramp emulation was the fastest one. Sorry. So yeah, 25 frames. Yeah, that's better. So this is software. No 3D card used here. And you've still got a fairly playable game. Let's see what the other options were. MMX, yeah, I'm not sure whether that actually gave much of an advantage. Oh, a little bit, yeah. Perhaps. But yeah, ramp was usually the simple option and the better option. Yeah, definitely. So, options, I'll go back into the 3D accelerated. Full screen mode, you could also play the game in a window as well. I'll just demonstrate that. Start game. Quite why you'd want to do it in a window, I don't really know, because it's obviously a bit awkward, because if your mouse moves outside of the window, then you're doing, you're touching other things. So there was that option there. I might have used it for screenshots actually at the time. But yeah, come out of that. Back on the options, difficulty. It's set to easy. At the moment, so you can make things more difficult for yourself if you wanted to. Moving the ship, easy. Ship stops automatically after moving. Yep, that's the game that's the version that I like playing in. It makes it more of an arcade game rather than a spaceship simulation game. If you prefer your spaceship simulations, then choose difficult. Ship continues to move. And now if you do a thrust, you're still moving. I've taken my finger off the thrust, but I'm still moving now. And if you can appreciate that might be a bit more difficult, because then I've gone through the containment field. Now I've got to use thrust to get myself back into the containment field. Side thrust, but let's see. Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's for the real serious people, but yeah, I wasn't too keen on that. I preferred the more fun arcadey version. Sounds, yeah, there's some music playing in the game. It's on a very short loop basis because we wanted to keep things as small as possible. So if that gets annoying after a while, or if you wanted to play your own music, you can turn the music off. The sounds, we were using direct 3D sound, so that was good. That you did get the impression that if there was a enemy ship coming from the left, it was that you could hear the sound more in the left. And if you had asteroid explosions, for some reason, the explosion sound would come from where the asteroid was placed. So it might be left or right. Obviously, there's no sound in space, but we're thinking now perhaps technology makes it easier for the pilot, so it simulates the sound. So that's my excuse for that. Help messages, yeah, some help messages come up. You can switch them off if you want. Controls, there was a few different ways you could do controls. This game was designed to be used with a mouse. We never had any joystick control. A three button mouse control was a lot better, I thought. It'd be very difficult to do with a keyboard. I think it was difficult to do with a mouse pad on laptops as well, so I wouldn't really advise doing that. I'd say it's ideally you use it with a mouse. There's some different settings here that you can change the keys as well. Head-up display. I suppose I'll take you through the head-up display. Flap. Yes, I'll try to keep things simple. F was a frame rate, so we're running at a 60 frames per second rate at the moment, but we're recording at a lower rate. Level tells you what level you're on. A is the number of asteroids that are in the field. There's one asteroid in there at the moment, but if I go forward... Oh no, I'm on the difficult setting. Oh dear. I'm going to come out of that because I can't use this difficult setting. Difficult, easy, right, go back in. Yep, so one asteroid in the field at the moment. Shoot it, there's 2 asteroids. Shoot that, there's 5 asteroids. Okay, so you get that. P... points, yeah, points. And in the middle you've got 3 representations. So the vertical line shows the view. So at the moment we're viewing from ship 1, and the horizontal line shows that we're controlling from ship 1 as well. If I go to ship 3, yep, I'm viewing and controlling from ship 3. If I then want to press F1, right, other way around, yep. So now I'm viewing from ship 3, but I'm controlling ship 1. Go back to 3, better look at ship 1 first. Go back to control ship 1, now I can control it, yeah. But in most cases you're better off using first person like that. Exit there. So controls, yeah. I think that's about it. Help screen. Tips. About. Some references to some of the images that were used in the game from NASA, and that's about it. So yeah, that's the demo version. Sadly, it's no longer available, this game, because who's got Windows XP? And I think at some point I might do a video run through of the full version. That might take a bit longer, and I'll probably have to get back in practice on how to do that. But yeah, that's the game, Close Approach. It's developed in Microsoft VB using Microsoft Direct 3D RM retain mode API, which was ditched by Microsoft later on. Microsoft kind of ditched VB in a way as well, because this was VB5, VB6. When they went to .NET, they had a VB.NET, but VB.NET was not the same as the original VB 5 and 6. In some ways, because this was about one of the only games that was 3D accelerated first-person shoot 'em up that was developed in VB, I had hoped that Microsoft would have got behind this game a bit more and promoted it, just to show that VB can be used to do fast applications. But unfortunately, they didn't get behind that. So after my encounters with Microsoft, I've tended to move away from Microsoft now. So after that, did a bit of Java phone development and moving more into JavaScript now as well. But I think that concludes this demo, really. Yeah, hopefully I might get a full game walkthrough out sometime. But yeah, thanks for sticking with this, and hope you enjoy it. And yeah, a 20-year-old game. Thank you.